Welcome back, guys, to another week and another Destiny 2 build video from ya boy. Now, this week we're going to be taking a pass at Warlocks and their ability to just deal out an absolute absurd amount of damage during boss phases or even to higher health targets, with one particular exotic, in mind, which I'm sure you can already guess what it is just by the thumbnail, and that's okay. First things first, I want to say thank you to everybody who watches, likes, comments, and subscribes, as it helps me find the motivation to do these every single week and try to find new ways to do interactions with particular exotics and aspects and fragments. So, with that being said, let's just dive right into this particular build video. The exotic we're going to be looking at this week is Starfire Protocol, which comes with the exotic perk Fusion Harness. Fusion grenades have an additional charge and recharge from empowered weapon damage. Fusion grenade kills grant rift energy. We're using this particular chest plate in order to get our double fusion grenades in order to get massive amounts of damage with them, paired with other mods and class options that we have available to us. As stated in the description for the exotic perk, this will give us 2 fusion grenades, as well as giving us 20% of our grenade energy back every 0.3 seconds we are doing damage with empowered weapons, as well as giving us 100% of our rift energy back on grenade kills. Well of Radiance counts for empowered to get, all these buffs working. At the end of this video, I'll go over some weapon choices that I use that will maximize getting your grenade energy back while standing in a rift or one of these Well of Radiances. Now, because Starfire Protocol works with Well of Radiance, that's what we're going to be using, along with Empowering Wrist to get the most out of the chest plate. I went with Celestial Fire because I like it more for this particular build, but you can run Incinerator Snap if you so choose, and of course, our fusion grenades, as they are our main source of this build. First aspect we're going to look at, Touch of Flame. Your healing, solar, firebolt, and fusion grenades have enhanced functionality. Healing grenade improve the strength and cure and restoration effects applied. Solar grenade increased linger duration, periodically emits blobs of lava around its perimeter. Fusion bolt grenades increase target search radius and maximum target count, and fusion grenade explodes twice. We're going to be taking advantage of this aspect so that our fusion grenades will explode twice, giving us that extra damage for them and allowing us to get 4 explosions with our 2 grenades during any type of boss encounter or just higher health targets that need to, die quickly. Second aspect we're going to look at is Heat Rises. You can fire weapons, melee, and throw grenades while gliding. Hold grenade input to activate Heat Rises, consuming your grenade and releasing a burst of healing energy around you. Consuming a healing grenade increases the strength of the burst. Final blows while airborne increase the duration of Heat Rises and grant melee energy. This was recently buffed this past week, adding the healing burst effect. This will give us the ability to choose whether or not we want to consume our grenades for healing or go all out with DPS and add clear. And with this build, we'll get our grenade back so much, so don't be afraid to use them to stay alive. Alternative, you can still run Icarus Dash if you so choose and don't want that extra survivability from being able to consume our grenades. The first fragment we are looking at is Ember of Blistering. Defeating targets with solar ignitions grants grenade energy. This will make it so we can get grenade energy back even while not sending in a well or a rift, as we'll be making plenty of solar ignitions with this build, allowing us to, just not stand out in the open in a rift. Second one we're going to look at is Ember of Eruption. Your solar ignitions have increased area of effect, plus 10 strength. With this fragment, we're going to get more out of the ignitions we do cause, allowing them to hit more targets and, scorching them and igniting them and causing just, repetitive chain reaction type deal. Next, we're going to look at Ember of Wonder. Rapidly defeating multiple targets with solar ignitions generates an orb of power, plus 10 resilience. When defeating targets with the solar ignitions we will be causing, we may as well try and get something out of it. So let's make some orbs to feed back into our well and help out any teammates who want to get their super, as well as, using charge with light mods. Also, getting a bonus to our resilience in this current sandbox is not a bad thing either. And finally, Ember of Char. Your solar ignition spreads scorch to affected targets. This has become my favorite fragment, one of them so far. This will allow us to set off chain reaction type explosions by spreading scorch to other targets, allowing us to, make our ignition fragments as well as some armor mods and class mods or artifact mods that are going to just make the ignitions better as a whole. Now, let's get into the armor mods part of this particular build. First on this list is Explosive Well Maker. Rapidly defeating combatants with explosive damage spawns a solar well. People who I gave this build to today when I was making it are going to notice that this is a change. I originally made this with elemental ordnance, but I decided that making solar wells on just grenade kills didn't seem productive enough, so I swapped it for this instead. So now any rocket launcher, grenade launcher, our fusion grenades, and even our solar ignitions are going to make these solar wells. And to help this mod even more, we're going to take the use of solar fulmination. Your ignitions do increased damage and have increased radius. This is a mod off our artifact that will increase the damage with our ignitions, as well as making the radius further so that we can spread our scorch more with Ember of Char. This will make it easier to spawn those solar wells so we can feed into Well of Ordnance. Picking up Solar Elemental Well grants you additional grenade energy. Multiple copies of this mod increase this effect. This is another way for us to get our grenades back while not having to rely completely on our rifts or our well. And another mod we're also going to be feeding is Well of Life. Picking up a Solar Elemental Well grants increased regeneration for a short period of time. Since we aren't running healing rifts and we don't want to consume our grenades every single time that we need health, this is going to help us get a little bit more health, basically, so we don't die as quickly. And we're going to pair that with Classy Restoration. Activating your Solar class abilities grants you Restoration. Gives our Empowering Rift the added benefit of giving us that restoration buff in order to give us even more survivability. And finally, we're going to look at Bountiful Wells. Elemental well mods that cause you to spawn elemental wells now stack, spawning additional wells for each copy of the mod you have equipped. This is to give us that extra, solar well that we can feed into Well of Ordnance, thus giving us our grenade back faster. Some other quick little things is I also ran elemental armaments, but the more I played with this build, the less and less I felt like I needed it. Causing all the explosions are going to make it so that we don't really need, our weapon to make wells for us. So you can swap it for things like Seeking Wells, so that this way, the wells that you do make with your explosions will track to you, and then you don't have to worry about going and hunting them down. Or you can use Elemental Time Dilation and add a few more seconds onto your Well of Life. I'm not talking about Well of Life. If you feel like you don't need survivability, you can always swap Well of Life for Font of Might for that 25% solar boost if you're using things like a Callus Mini Tool and stuff like that, which will also be boosted by Time Dilation. Another thing that I added, which made this build feel really good, is Ashes to Assets. Since we're using a grenade-heavy build, getting that super energy back every time we get one of those grenade kills is going to be really, really nice. And finally, the weapons that I was going to talk about. First thing we're going to look at is Anarchy. It's a heavy grenade launcher. You got to get it from the Monument of Lost Light. Costs raid spoils. Very expensive to get. Or you can use my preferred option, which is Wither Horde. Now, how this build works realistically is you stick a target with Wither Horde while in your Rift or your Well and throw grenades like a madman, allowing you to do absurd damage to bosses and even like higher health elite targets. And, if you really wanted to, stick a target with your Wither Horde and then pull out your SMG and just SMG, grenade, Wither Horde, grenade, once you find that really nice loop of damaging with the Wither Horde and the grenade and like your primary or your heavy, you're going to find that your numbers are going to be massive. The numbers that I use for the thumbnail aren't even my numbers. There's someone on my fire team who has used this build a little more frequently than I have, with the whole idea of, Starfire Protocol. So they had a better loop. They could loop their abilities and their gun damage and their, they could just loop it better than I could because I've been playing Titan a lot. So with that being said, I've now hit all 3 characters for a solar build. So next week, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking for a build in my Discord community. Now, if you're in my Discord community and you're watching this, be prepared for Friday for me to make a post, which is going to be tomorrow because I post these on Thursday. So get ready for me to start looking at builds this weekend, so this way I can make a quote-unquote community outreach type of build to see what other people inside the community are building. So with that being said, in a long-winded video, I hope everybody has a good week, and I hope everybody gets the loot that they want.